Hello, Lakeview family. Hope this video finds you well whenever and wherever you are watching this. For me, it is Wednesday, a little after the 12 o'clock hour. And the only reason I really say that is because not that long ago, within the last 30 minutes, my mom was discharged from the hospital here in Nampa and is on her way home back to Vancouver. So some of you have heard and were here Sunday when I shared, but my mom was visiting and fell last week and has a compression fracture in the T6 vertebrae. So not a fun event, along with a concussion and a nice gash on her head. So it was scary to say the least, and hard on this son to see that happened, and it was last Friday. So it's been several days in the hospital and struggling with pain management and those things, but she is doing well. Her spirits are good. She is back joking like herself and being feisty as ever, which is wonderful. For those of you who do not know, my mom is a NICU nurse, and nurses aren't always the best patients. So, but she's on her way home, and my older sister is traveling with them. My older sister Nicole lives here in Nampa. Her husband is a youth pastor at Nampa First Church of the Nazarene. So she's a paramedic, so she's going back with them, and we'll be there a couple days, help them get settled and just care for mom. So thanks for those who were praying. We very much appreciate it. So I'm feeling a little better, but it's still tough, not fun to watch or see. So, but I'm looking forward to Sunday and sharing with you, continuing our series in First John that Rochelle has orchestrated, put together, and kind of cast the larger vision for. And it's been super fun. It's been great to both participate and hear the others that are preaching, and it's been really a lot of fun. So this week we'll be in First John chapter 5, the first 6 verses, and I'll actually loop in verse 7 and 8 to provide a little more context. But it's an interesting passage, kind of weaves through a little bit of a circular argument on the whole point of love as proof. And this love is love of God. And the unique thing that the elder writes in this, which we think right is John, so there are several points that in this text that point back to the greater, what they would call Johannine literature, so the Gospel of John, 1st, 2nd, 3rd John, and what was known in kind of the John orbit, so to speak, and the way that John, particularly the Gospel of John, articulated belief in Jesus, talk about Jesus, who he was, the coming kingdom, and those kinds of things. So there's a lot that plays with that, particularly in regard, especially in this section, with the Christology of Jesus. So Jesus as the Christ, and in particular, a belief in Jesus as the Messiah, as the Christ, and the Son of God. And these are important articulations and bedrock for a belief and faith in God and belief in God and love of God. And so it talks about this love as keeping God's commands. That when we love, we will keep God's commands. And the commands, and we'll talk more about this on Sunday, but that is not like the 10 Commandments or the law, because in Johannine literature, that's not the reference point. The reference point for the commands is a belief in Jesus as the Christ, as the Messiah, and the Son of God, and love of others, most particularly other believers. So the children of God, which this talks about. And it's interesting, in verse 1, it talks about if you love, essentially, some translations will say, if you love the parent, you love the child, or you love the parent, you love the offspring. And this is not saying if you love God, you love Jesus. This is saying if you love God, you will love the children of God. And it articulates what it means to be the children of God, is that we would then believe, those who are children of God, believe that Jesus is the Christ and the Son of God, and those individuals love the other children of God. So if you love God, you love God's children, all of God's children. And this is an interesting argument. I think we could go round and round on this and what it means, especially in a context like today, when there's a lot of animosity in the church. And in this, I think particularly to really hold true to this argument, this is not a broad love of others, love of neighbor. I don't want to go so far as to say that it doesn't include love of neighbor, But it's pretty clear that this love is talking specifically about other children of God who have professed a belief in the person of Jesus. And regardless of how broad we want to go, there's strong argument that that is what the elder is getting at. And so that's what we'll focus on. And I think it's important for us to say, if we love God, we love the children of God. We love those who articulate a belief that Jesus is the Christ, that he's the Messiah, and that he's the Son of God. And clear to those Christological claims that we see in the writings of John and this passage that we've come across in 1 John, knowing what the argument was, right? That John, or the elder, whoever this is, we think it was John, was speaking directly into the conflict of those who had left the church over the issues of the divinity of Jesus. So it's very clear what the elder is talking about and what he's getting at. And so the important thing for us to recognize is that if we love God, that means we are saying that we believe that Jesus is the Christ, that he is the Son of God, that he is the incarnate one. And we are saying that we love God's children. We love all of those who also love God and say, I believe that they believe in Jesus as the Christ and the Son of God. Now, this can be kind of a difficult thing for us, maybe at some points, particularly in our current day where there's a lot of dissension, there's a lot of animosity, and frankly, there's a lot of hate, a lot of strong language within the church, within the body of Christ, that I think this elder speaks directly to, because that is a situation that he was addressing, this division in the church and the feelings of those. And so for him to bring this in writing to say that this is what love is, love of God is a belief in Jesus and a love of God's children. And that's how we know. So the burden of proof is love. Love is proof, and this love that we believe in Jesus and that we love the children of God and what that calls us to do. And I think that's important. So we'll talk more about this on Sunday. And this will be something that for us is a matter of prayer. How do we do that well? And what I'm going to call us to on Sunday is at some point, I am worried about our love for the larger body of Christ as we engage outside of our faith community, as we engage with other believers online. But I'm really going to call for that to begin here at home in our faith family. That when we sit together on Sundays, when we say that we go to Lakeview Church of the Nazarene, what that means is that we believe in Jesus, that he is the Christ, that he's the Messiah, that he's the Son of God, and we love all other children of God that are in our faith family. And yes, it extends beyond that, but I think first we need to get that right so that we know that that's what it means. That regardless of what comes and conversations that we have, and in a very tense year that could be difficult, that we love each other. And that is the proof of a belief in God. Peace.